go any further this afternoon, I want to thank all of our volunteers who have graciously agreed to read for the plays that you're hearing this afternoon. They've done a really spectacular job and put in a lot of time and energy to perform and to read the plays and to come to rehearsals, and I really appreciate that. I also want to thank Damien Olson, who set up all of the electronic devices and things so that we can be heard throughout the room. Peter Andrews is recording the proceedings. Thank you, Peter, very much. Jane Erla, who has worked so hard behind the scenes throughout the entire ninth season to pull all of this together. We really appreciate it. So thank you very much, Lucille. And so now to our final and very delightful play of the evening, The Tablecloth by Thomas Blumet and Donna Selig. As you know, the ninth season of Reader's Theater has been dedicated to Donna Selig, who passed away last year. A memorial statement about Donna is on one side of your playbill, so please, if you haven't done it already, please take a moment to take a look at that. The Tablecloth was performed in a previous season of Reader's Theater, and Donna herself was reading the role of Leanna Bellwether. And you'll see we set up a little memorial display on behalf of Donna out in the lobby there. There are pictures of Donna as a writer, as a director, and as a reader of roles and plays. And so take a moment if you have time before you leave this afternoon to take a look at those pictures that were taken. She was really a wonderful person, and I really enjoyed working with her throughout the Reader's Theater seasons that she was here. It was also decided that we would do an encore performance of Donna's play to honor her memory. So even though it had been done previously when she passed away, it was decided that we would definitely want to redo this particular play again. The letters sent to Clark Reitman by Leanna Bellwether will be read by Angie Orr, our President Emeritus of the River Friends of the Library, and the letters written in return to Miss Bellwether by Clark Reitman will be read by Richard Edwards, who was also in the original reading of the play. So thank you very much to both of you. Kurt.
Mr. Clark Reitman, Assistant Store Manager, A.J. Layton Store, number 118, McCracken, North Carolina, 22121, March 23rd, 1986. Mr. Clark Reitman, please read through this letter at least twice. The events it describes are so ludicrous, I find them hard to believe myself, even though I have a hideous tablecloth as evidence. I assure you this is not a crank letter. In December of last year, I received as a Christmas gift a tablecloth. Hideous, or am I repeating myself? The cloth was purchased from the A.J. Layton store in Chicago. My stepmother sent it to me, but that's another story. I brought the tablecloth to the A.J. Layton store in McCracken, intending to obtain a refund, only to discover that, one, the A.J. Layton store in McCracken doesn't sell tablecloths. Does everyone in McCracken keep standing up? Two, therefore, I cannot get a refund from the store. 3, I had just driven 60 miles to your store for nothing. 4, the clerk who helped me is brain dead. Her suggestion was that I mail the tablecloth to the Chicago Layton store, and she assured me that I could obtain a refund without having a sales receipt because the tablecloth was a gift. I mailed the tablecloth to the Chicago store, ensured that doing so necessitated another 120-mile round trip for me, this time to the McCracken post office. Exactly 25 days after mailing the tablecloth, I received a letter from the Chicago store apologizing because the store is out of the tablecloth I ordered. I wrote back explaining that I wasn't trying to order another one. I was trying to get rid of the damn thing in the first place. And by the way, where was the tablecloth I'd sent? A month later, I received the tablecloth with a letter saying the Chicago Layton's number 289 cannot process a refund without the sales receipt. Mind you, all the tags were still on the tablecloth, with approximately 5 tags informing anyone not legally blind that the tablecloth came from Layton's number 289. The clerk who wrote the letter suggested I simply handle the return through the A.J. Layton store nearest me and thoughtfully inform me that the closest one is store number 118 in McCracken, North Carolina. That was the injury. The insult was that the writer enclosed an application form for an A.J. Layton charge account so that while returning the tablecloth, I could also purchase any of the lovely items displayed in the store, which is conveniently located in beautiful downtown McCracken. I then phoned your store, a long-distance call, I might add, to speak to the store manager and learn that he is unavailable for a month while touring A.J. Layton stores in the United States and Canada. The store operator then connected me with the linens department, where I spoke with the same brain-dead clerk, or her twin, who suggested I might use the tablecloth for a different purpose, such as, for example, lining a cardboard box with it the next time my dog has a litter. Mr. Reitman, I do not have a dog, but if I did, I assure you, I would not add to the trauma of birth, the trauma of birthing on that hideous tablecloth. In addition to not having a dog, I do not have the time either to make a 120-mile round trips to McCracken or to discuss by phone birthing boxes for dogs. I am a writer. My writing requires concentration, time, and solitude. I would like you to respond by letter with a solution to this theater of the absurd, a bona fide solution, Mr. Reitman, not a mere guess or a discourse on the many uses of hideous tablecloths. I look forward to hearing from you within a week. Sincerely, Leanna Bellwether.
Ms. Leanna Bellwether, Box 27, Star Route, Mellon, North Carolina, 22123. Dear Ms. Bellwether, I am always concerned when a customer of ours is unsatisfied, and as it is my job, I personally investigated your complaint. In 27 years on the job, I must tell you I resolved all the complaints I personally handled to each customer's satisfaction. For this reason, I am quite unhappy because after careful review, I have come to the conclusion that you will be the first blemish on my record. I tracked down your stepmother in the hopes she could tell me more about the tablecloth. As she explained that she never discusses anything but gossip over the phone, I arranged for our store manager, who you know is touring our various stores, to pay her a personal visit. In the ensuing meeting, it was relayed to me that Mrs. Bellwether does her shopping exclusively at our A.J. Layton stores, the fine lady. She explained she was well aware of our refund policy, that an item must be returned within 30 days of purchase for a refund. In fact, this is why she had waited 31 days before sending the tablecloth to you. Further, she explained what an awful stepdaughter you have been, and that you are notorious for returning anything that she gives you. Under the circumstances, and as per the conditions for a refund, I am sorry to inform you that a refund cannot be issued. At this time, I would like to address the trouble you had in trying to obtain a refund. You discovered, 1, that our McCracken store does not sell tablecloths, and you wondered if everyone in McCracken eats standing up. I am flattered that you think all McCracken residents shop exclusively at our stores like your stepmother. However, it is neither a law nor our responsibility to stock tablecloths in all our stores. 2, that you could not get a refund at our McCracken store since we do not sell tablecloths. 3, that you had to drive 60 miles for nothing. I am surprised, Miss Bellwether, that a woman who values her time as much as you do did not make a simple phone call that would have prevented our mutual headaches. It is also for that reason that I am somewhat confused as to why you did not mail the tablecloth while in McCracken rather than make a special trip to the city as you did. Lastly, Ms. Bellwether, I would like to make it clear that we do not employ brain-dead clerks. Following correct procedures, the clerk suggested you mail the tablecloth to the original A.J. Layton store in order to exact your refund. A refund will be issued as is policy without a receipt within a month of purchase. If a refund is sought after a month, requests will be evaluated on an individual basis, assuming a receipt is included. This is clearly stated on all our form letters, and I fear you somehow overlooked this declaration when you received the letter from the second clerk. As to the insult of enclosing an A.J. Layton application for a charge account, I have reprimanded the clerk for not doing a detailed check of your credit history and finding that you would not have qualified for it. I trust that my letter has cleared up the question on how to obtain a refund to your satisfaction should there be any need in the future. If you have for any reason some questions that still were not answered, I hope that you will write again. On behalf of the A.J. Layton stores, I look forward to any future patronizing you might do with us. Sincerely, Clark Reitman.
Dear Mr. Reitman, it is a pity that when you spoke to my stepmother and learned she never discusses anything but gossip by phone, you immediately arranged for your store manager to meet with her in person. Had you remained on the line with her for some gossip, you'd have learned that while my name is indeed Leanna Bellwether, I am also known as L.B. Libby Armstrong. Perhaps you've read my syndicated newspaper column, Armstrong on the Observe, and also as Mrs. Whitney Armstrong. Perhaps you're familiar with the name of my husband, Whitney Armstrong, chairman of the board at Armstrong Savings and Loan in McCracken. I mention my other names, Mr. Reitman, in response to your opinion that my credit history disqualifies me for a charge account at Layton's. I purchased gifts there for my stepmother, which she always returns to the Layton store in Chicago. The account is in the name of Libby Armstrong. I use that name for business, literary, and financial matters, and use Leanna Bellwether for more personal matters, including anonymity. Secondly, my finances are in order, and as I've just received an advance for my next book, my bank account, exclusive of the joint account with my husband, is quite healthy. Thirdly, I have made sure all business and financial accounts record my, also known as, status, to avoid confusion regarding my different names and to protect myself legally. So, Mr. Reitman, I can only surmise that your credit check was less than thorough. Perhaps anxiety about blemishing your 27-year record with Layton's caused you to overlook the details. Regarding your surprise that a woman who values her time as much as I do didn't make a simple phone call that would have prevented our mutual headache, I can only apologize for not stating the obvious. I did phone your store before making that useless attempt to return the tablecloth. The clerk I spoke with on the phone assured me that there would be no problem returning a gift item from an A.J. Layton store without the receipt. Thus it was doubly frustrating to encounter the difficulties at the store when I had, in fact, telephoned first. The reason I made an additional trip to McCracken to mail the tablecloth to the Chicago store instead of mailing it after leaving the McCracken store is that I had to return home in order to properly package the tablecloth for mailing. I am not in the habit of carrying scissors, tape, and mailing containers on my person. Years of experience as a writer mailing manuscripts has taught me that items insured for mailing by the Postal Service must be securely packaged, hence the additional trip to McCracken, our nearest post office. Finally, regarding the A.J. Layton Company refund policy, which you say is printed on all your form letters and which you fear I somehow overlooked when reading the letter sent by the clerk at the Chicago store? The fact is, Mr. Reitman, that the letter was typed on Layton letterhead stationery. It was not a standard form letter, thus there was no declaration of policy to overlook. In any case, Mr. Reitman, we do have more in common than this affair of the hideous tablecloth. When I discussed your letter with Whitney, your name was familiar to him. It seems you were on his list of loan applicants for his end-of-month review. Naturally, loan applications are confidential, so Whitney didn't mention the amount of the loan requested or the purpose for which you intend to use it. Isn't it ironic, Mr. Reitman, that you and I are in similar positions? I wanted to return a tablecloth and wrote to you for assistance. You involved my stepmother, which was really none of your business. You turned the matter over to your superior. You have less clout than he, but nonetheless are in a position to influence the course of events. As for your position, you have requested a loan from my husband's bank. My husband mentioned it to me, which is none of my business. I certainly have less clout with the bank board than my husband does, but nevertheless am in a position to influence the course of events regarding your loan application. How ironic, the type of absurdity I am fond of writing about in my column, the syndication of which, by the way, includes the McCracken Times-Standard. I am looking forward to hearing from you. Sincerely, Leanna Bellwether.
Dear Miss Bellwether, you are to be complimented on your appreciation of the absurd, as I think it has contributed to your patience in this ridiculous matter. However, your fondness for the absurd will surely be tested by what I am about to reveal to you, since you are personally involved. First of all, the letter you received bore my signature, but I did not write it. I was forced to sign it by my boss, Mr. Shippett. You see, Miss Bellwether, in 10 days I will qualify to retire with full benefits. The problem is that Mr. Shippett is blackmailing me in order to gain added favors with your stepmother. Apparently, the two of them became acquainted shortly after her first return many years ago. Mr. Shippett was working at our Chicago store at the time. It seems your stepmother was having trouble returning an item and complained so loudly that Mr. Shippett handled the refund personally. Irony pains me. Your letter gave him the perfect excuse to pay her a visit, as he had always been quite attracted to her. In the ensuing visit, an affair occurred between them, during which time she convinced him what an awful person you are. Not that I believe in it. So I am being blackmailed by my boss to satisfy his lover, who seems to dislike you intensely. So after 27 years, I was not about to let a couple of weeks prevent me from obtaining the benefits I so deserve. I would like you to know it is true that during my career here, I have been able to resolve all complaints to each customer's satisfaction. It is for this reason that I have now decided to tell you all this. I will lose my benefits, but it will be with the pleasure of knowing that you will come away with an understanding of the situation and satisfaction to your original complaints. It was for this reason that it was necessary that I put in a request for a loan with your husband's bank. Losing my benefits means that I will have to meet my house payments some other way. I hope you will prevent the potential ironic situation of my being denied a loan because of your influence. Well, I remedy the injustices you have gone through. After I mail you your refund check, I will be handing in my resignation. Sincerely, Clark Reitman.
Dear Clark, your letter left me with mixed emotions, chief among them compassion for the position you are in and outrage on your behalf toward the people responsible for it. But you are correct in your assessment of my appreciation for the absurd. After the third reading of your letter, I was laughing so hard that I actually took that hideous tablecloth from the back of the closet and tacked it to the wall for fun. To begin with, I owe you an apology. I am sincerely sorry for directing my anger at my stepmother toward you in the form of high-handed letters. I offer you some background information, not as justification for my behavior, but because you have been honest with me, and I would like to respond in kind. I should forewarn you, though, that this will read like a soap opera plot. My stepmother and I have been at odds since I was 16 when she married my father. She resented the bond between my father and me and convinced him I should attend boarding school in, where else? Switzerland. The rest of the story is quite predictable. My father died the first winter I was away. And of course, my stepmother had persuaded him to leave his entire estate to her to manage for me. Though the plot thickens, it doesn't improve, so I'll spare you the details. Which is relevant, however, is that my stepmother can play quite convincingly the role of the fragile flower. Quick, you're smelling salts. I pictured with great amusement the scenario you described, wherein your boss, Mr. Shippett, personally assisted her to return some merchandise at the Leighton store in Chicago years ago. Perhaps I should have threatened that I felt faint while trying to return the tablecloth to your store. At any rate, the dialogue between us is this ridiculous exchange of gifts, one more grotesque than the next. I have incurred no risk in being honest with you. I have only exposed my participation in a petty ritual. You, however, have risked your personal security in order to be honest with me, and I am impressed with your ethics. That being the case, I took the liberty of meeting with Mayette Hightower from the credit office at the Leighton store in McCracken. I explained to her that the refund check you sent me is a duplicate of one I received 4 months ago, and that I wanted to return it. As you can imagine, that necessitated a paperwork procedure that will keep the credit office searching for the original phantom check long after you are retired with full benefits from A.J. Leighton store number 118. I learned from Mayette that Mr. Shippett is still touring Leighton stores around the country, so he will know nothing about the refund check until it is too late. Further, it is my opinion that after your 27 years of faithful service to the store, anyone in personnel would believe that you are, forgive me, missing a key on your register, so to speak, that you are getting befuddled to have handed in your resignation mere days before your retirement date. It's a believable enough story to give while asking to get your resignation letter back. Please let me hear from you. If there's anything further I can do to help, I'd be happy to do so. And if it's all taken care of, I'd be pleased to know that you are about to be a man of leisure with full retirement benefits after this, your final, satisfactorily resolved customer complaint in 27 years. With best regards, Leanna Bellwether.
Dear Leanna, I received your letter yesterday morning, and as a result of your kindness, I was able to phone your husband to clarify that I would no longer be meeting alone. This he knew already, of course. He then extended an invitation to have dinner with the two of you in your home in Mellon, which I accepted with great pleasure. Now I will be able to thank you properly in person. He mentioned that you are not at home at the moment and will not be for several days as you are following an absurd story. I chuckled at this and looked over my shoulder to see if you were standing behind me. You see, there's more to reveal since you visited our credit office. After your clever ploy with Mayette, she made a rather interesting discovery while poring over old credit records. It would seem that our dear Mr. Shippett has been embezzling from A.J. Leighton for quite a few years. Can you imagine that? So I informed our board of directors and our president, Mr. Fulbright. flew in and fired our dear Mr. Shippen. He promptly asked me to take over Mr. Shippen's duties, but I had to tell him I had just handed in my resignation. Well, he marched right into our Department of Records and tore up the still-sealed envelope. He insisted that I at least take a few days off to think matters over before he would accept my resignation. Days? As soon as he was out the door, I started to move into Shippen's office. I've been waiting 18 years for him to leave. I hope you'll understand my need to bring a bottle of champagne rather than one of wine when I come to dinner. And I hope we might dine on the infamous tablecloth. I will also bring a few items from our store that I think you might consider sending to your stepmother. Looking forward to seeing you soon. Clark.